Hi guys. Alright, so the first book we're going to be reading for this video is one that I am so excited for, and that is because the movie version of this book is one of my favorite movies of all time. That is none other than Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I literally have, I don't think you can see right now, but I have a Pride and Prejudice poster right there. The Pride and Prejudice that I own is a special edition that my best friend Sam hand painted for me. She's literally so talented and I'm obsessed with it. I should be wearing I have 2 sets of Pride and Prejudice earrings, but I should be wearing one of them, but I'm not. That's okay. I will eventually. Maybe I'll wear them tomorrow. But anyways, I am so excited to read this book. But I'm also very nervous because I tried to read another Jane Austen book. I tried to read Emma and I just really couldn't get into it. I think that was during my era of reading audiobooks at 2 times speed. And for Jane Austen books, that for me is literally not possible. So I actually am going to be listening to the audiobook of Pride and Prejudice. I've already started it actually. I'm about 30% of the way through and I'm absolutely loving this audiobook. I'm listening to it at like 1.2 speed and that is the perfect speed for me. I think for when I'm gonna watch the movie, I'm gonna watch the 2005 Pride and Prejudice adaptation, Keira Knightley. Duh. But I've actually never seen I forget like what channel. Is it like the British BC? Is it BC? British channel? I don't remember. But the like 6-hour in total one, I'm gonna watch that one too. The one with Colin Firth. I'm gonna watch that one as well. Pride and Prejudice is such a fall movie and now book, obviously, to me. And I'm just so excited to read it. I'm having the best time. Yeah, like I said, I'm about 32% of the way through the audiobook. And that's kind of my only update right now. If I have any more updates, I will let you know.
Chapter 25.
Hello. I am back with an update. I have now completed watching the entirety of the BBC Pride and Prejudice, which was about a little over 6 hours in total, I think, or maybe a little under 6 hours. There are 6 episodes and they're like 55 minutes each, so yeah, I guess like a little under 6 hours. Math is fun. And I finished last night watching the 2005 adaptation, which was so much fun. The amount of hours I have devoted to reading and watching Pride and Prejudice is now kind of hitting me. What other way would I want to spend my time? So first, we're going to talk about the book, and then I'm going to tell you how I rated both of the adaptations. I have different figures that I use to rate them, but first we're going to talk about the book. I did listen to the audiobook version, and I would really recommend the audiobook version if you find it difficult to kind of get into classics and stuff. That being said, I ended up rating this book 3.5 stars. I do think it's a great book. Like, obviously it has stood the test of time. It's a classic for a reason. This was my first Jane Austen book that I read, and I would like to read some more in the future, but this wasn't exactly what I wanted, I guess, in a way. There were aspects that did not interest me or I didn't really love. Like, I am a Mr. Bennet hater. I hate him so much. I think he's just like the absolute worst. The way he just constantly is saying how pretty much stupid his daughters are and is not trying to help them secure these relationships, and is just putting little to no effort into his relationships with any of his family members and his wife. He drove me insane. I could not stand him. Yeah, other than that, I wasn't expecting to like understand the humor in this book, and I'm very glad that I did. It is a very funny book, especially with the whole Mr. Collins thing. I think in the book and the BBC adaptation, they just added so much to the Mr. Collins situation, and it was so fun. Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed my time reading it. 3.5 stars isn't a bad rating. I would absolutely recommend it if you haven't read this book before, but for me, it's like, I don't know, it didn't really have super big impact on me. I think maybe if I would have read this at the time that it was published, I would have been like, this is the best thing I've ever read in my entire life. But unfortunately, I read it in the year 2024. Yeah, that's my review. So that's how I feel about the book. Now to get on to how I rank it against the movie adaptations. Okay, if you see me looking over here, I have my notes for the movie adaptations. First, starting off with the BBC adaptation. I had never seen this specific Pride and Prejudice adaptation before. I solely had only seen the 2005 adaptation. So I was going into it not really expecting much. I knew that it was so long, you know, around 6 hours. As a child, my mom wanted me to watch it, and I was like, there's absolutely no way I'm gonna watch this for 6 hours. But I overall really enjoyed it. It's very different to the 2005. I feel like there's a lot less drama in a way that, just my own opinion, I think it's a lot sweeter. It's nice that like a lot of the plot points in the book are kind of overlooked a little bit in the 2005 adaptation, but in this one they really talk about like everything in the book for the most part. Like I'm sure I missed something that they didn't take from the book and like forgot to add in the adaptation, but for me, I feel like they covered pretty much everything. One of my favorite parts of it was that they really dove into the Mr. Wickham situation, kind of showed how much of like a risk Mr. Darcy took in like discovering Lydia and Mr. Wickham. Spoiler alert, but if you don't know, I mean, I'm sorry, but this book has been around for years and years and years, so I feel like that added a whole different layer, because I always thought like, oh, Mr. Darcy discovered Lydia and Wickham. Cool. But in the BBC adaptation, you really see like all the different lengths he went through to discover them, and like what it really meant to discover them, and how that showed how much he cared for Elizabeth. I thought that was really cool, and I really appreciated that. I loved Mr. Bingley in the adaptation. Colin Firth, I can't say I loved him as Mr. Darcy. Maybe that's just because I've seen him in so many other things, and I don't know. He wasn't my favorite in this, I can't lie. The actress who plays Elizabeth Bennet, absolutely adored her. Mr. Bennet, again, I hated him so much. Anyways, down to the nitty gritty. I did this on a scale of 1 to 5. There's 5 different categories we're gonna cover, and this is how I felt about it. So the first category is accuracy, and I rated this on a scale of 1 to 5. And for this one, I put it at a 5. From what I could tell, I feel like this adaptation was very book accurate. Next is character development, and I gave that a 4.5. I feel like for the length of the film or series goes into play, and I feel like we really got to understand Elizabeth a little more when she was, you know, kind of into Mr. Wickham. I feel like that was very interesting to see a little bit more of that, and why it felt like such a betrayal for her when everything went down with Mr. Wickham, because we don't necessarily cover that in the 2005 adaptation, and I really appreciate that. Next is entertainment. Put this at a 4. I wasn't expecting to be super entertained by the show, but I watched it like all pretty much within one day, so I would say that gets a 4 for entertainment. I think there were parts that, you know, maybe I just kind of zoned out for a quick sec, but yeah, I would say 4 for sure. So for pacing and structure, I gave it a 3.5. I know it's book accurate, so it's kind of unfair, I guess, to rank the adaptation in this way because it is accurate to the book in the way it's structured. I just felt like the pacing towards the end felt a little rushed. I just saw that there was like 10 minutes left and something that was supposed to happen hadn't happened yet. So I don't know, in that way, I guess it's not fair to critique it on its pacing and structure because it was just following the book, but yeah, that's how I feel. And last is emotional impact. I give this a 3.5. I didn't really feel a lot, I guess, from this adaptation besides just I was really enjoying it. It was funny. It made me laugh a few times, like with Mr. Collins and with Mrs. Bennet and everything. So I guess in that way, emotional impact, but not, it didn't make me emotional or feel much other than just like happy, I guess. Now it's time to talk about the 2005 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, aka one of my favorite movies of all time. I was a little nervous to rewatch this because I'm like, is this going to change my opinion of the movie? I have seen this movie a bajillion times without having read the book, so I wanted to see if it would add a lot or if it would kind of like take away from the love I had for the film. I'm happy to say it did not. I enjoyed it as much as I had enjoyed any other time. It was fun knowing a little bit about some of the things that were missing from it, I guess. I still feel like this is the perfect movie. But that being said, for the different criteria I mentioned, we'll be talking about that for the 2005. So quickly for accuracy, I give it a 3.5. I feel like overall it's pretty accurate, but it did change a lot. Like they don't talk about a lot of things that they talk in the book. There's just no time. Like the movie I think is 2 hours. So there's really no time to talk about every single detail that happened in the book. But I feel like they got the main gist of everything, which is good. One thing I noticed during this rewatch that I really appreciated was how they kind of changed Mr. Bennet's character as a whole. In the 2005 version, like he's a little bit grumpy and sometimes just annoying at times, but at least I don't hate him. In the book and in the BBC version, I absolutely hate Mr. Bennet. And in this one, he obviously loves his children and he even like is like flirting with Mrs. Bennet and seems to have a love for her and shows affection towards her. So I did appreciate that change, and that's just one thing I wanted to mention. Next, for character development, I gave this a 4. I feel like in a way we don't necessarily see a lot of how Darcy changes on his own. For that reason, I gave it a 4. I think on Elizabeth's side, we see a lot of her character development, but for Mr. Darcy, I feel like we don't see a lot. It's just kind of like said and not really shown how much he's changed. For entertainment, 5. This movie is perfect. I could watch this movie anytime. If I meet someone that hasn't watched the movie, will always be down to watch it with them. Name a time, place, any day. I'm fine. I'll watch it with you. So entertainment, 5. It's a perfect film. No one should ever try to make another Pride and Prejudice adaptation, in my opinion, unless they want to cast me. So pacing and structure, I gave this a 4. I think that the pacing in this movie is very good. Like I mentioned before, I think they took what they needed to from the book in order to keep it entertaining. For emotional impact, I put this at a 5. This movie is just so special to me, and I feel all sorts of emotions always when I'm watching it, especially with like the Charlotte scene, the first proposal scene, for the final declaration of love. No one can really top that monologue, I am sure of it. And yeah, this movie makes me feel so many different things. I love the drama, I love the passion. I feel like the drama and passion in the 2005 version is a little bit what's lacking in the BBC. So that leads me into my last thing, which is better? The ultimate question. For me, I gave it a shot. I really enjoyed the BBC version, would definitely watch it again in the future, but it's gotta be the 2005 adaptation. Is it the most book accurate? Definitely not. But is it the best? Yes. Overall, really enjoyed my time in the Pride and Prejudice universe because I feel like I've just absorbed this story in so many different ways, and I feel like I could quote a lot of the book because there's some lines that have transferred from the book to the BBC version, to the 2005 adaptation version, that I feel like I just could quote a lot of it now. So the next book that we're going to be reading and then watching the movie for is none other than The Hunger Games. I'm so excited for this. I have seen the Hunger Games movies, I don't know how many times, but I've never read the books. I've read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes and like compared it to that movie, and I absolutely loved it. So I cannot wait to read The Hunger Games and then watch the movie and compare it to it. I have already started it. I actually started it yesterday at the gym. I've been reading it on my Kindle, and I brought like my little remote page turner thing, and I'm already enjoying it so much. I feel like it's a really good book to read on the treadmill. I feel like it's just like motivating me because like right now they're doing their training before the Hunger Games, and I feel like I also need to do my training, you know? It's very immersive. I have like my headphones on and I have my like white noise, like rain. I don't know, it's a good time. Right now they're still training. They've made it past the like performing for the potential sponsors or the people in the Capitol that give them like a score before people are like able to place bets on them, you know? So Katniss just shot like an arrow at the Capitol members. We're about to hear their scores. So that's where I'm at in the book right now. Really enjoying it. Yeah, I'm actually gonna go pick up some lunch right now. There's this new sandwich place that I want to try out downtown. So I think I'm gonna go there and bring my Kindle and read for a little bit. But yes, that's my update right now. Very excited to see how the book turns out. I'm already really liking it. This is such a fun video. I'm loving it. Okay, we have a change of plans. I picked up my sandwich. It was way too busy in there. I would not have been able to focus on reading. So I'm actually at the park right now because today is kind of like the last day of summer, I would say. It's like 86 here, and I think tomorrow it just starts dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. So I want to take advantage of being outside. So I'm gonna read a little bit on the bench, eat my sandwich. It's gonna be great. I'm excited. Hi guys, I just wanted to give a little bit of an update. I'm on chapter 20 of the Hunger Games, which is 58% of the way through. I've just been strictly reading this on my Kindle, reading it when I'm at the gym or at night before bed, which honestly hasn't been a great idea. I have had more than one Hunger Games like nightmares, but will I switch out to read something different? No. I'm not gonna do that. But I just want to pop in here and say like a little bit of my plan. I have a weekend course all weekend long and it's remote. I am excited for the course, but the reason I wanted to let you know that is I'm gonna try to finish this by the end of my weekend course. We have like little breaks every hour and a half or so. So I'm gonna be reading this as much as I possibly can. I'll just have it next to me for during the breaks and stuff. I wanna have this finished by the end of this weekend because I wanna watch the movie on Monday. I'm at the part where we're kind of nearing the end of the actual games, the actual Hunger Games, and it's getting very stressful. I don't know why I'm so stressed because like I know what happens, but nevertheless, I'm still nervous. One difference I've already noticed from, because I have seen the movie before reading the book, is that Book Peeta is very smooth and is very flirty, and I feel like in the movie he really isn't like that. I feel like we see like a little glimpse of that in Catching Fire. Yeah, I didn't realize he was gonna be like this. I thought he was gonna be a lot more like reserved, and he just isn't really like that. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. I love a little flirty boy. I love it so much. I'm really enjoying my time. I'm liking it a lot more than I thought I would, but it's making me really want to read all of the books, and for this video I just don't want to do that. But yes, that's my little update, and I'm gonna finish this weekend for sure. Maybe sooner, who knows. All right, the time has come. It's time to watch The Hunger Games. I'm so excited for this. I have seen this movie, I think like 10 times probably, but I do feel like after reading the book, I got so much more information about the story that I think it's just gonna change my perspective on the movie a little bit. Saying The Hunger Games is such a fall movie sounds so weird, but it is a fall movie and I'm very excited. I'm cooking some lunch right now and I'm just gonna watch the movie. I have my little Hunger Games movie guide right here that I might peek into after the movie's done, and I will share my thoughts once I finish. Hello, it's time to discuss The Hunger Games. I have my prop right here, my Hunger Games little prop. I have now read the book and I've watched the movie, and now it's time to compare the two. I have my notes up here for how I felt about the movie, but first off, let's talk about the book. I absolutely loved this book. Spoiler, I rated it 5 stars. I had always wanted to read the book and I just flew through it. Katniss as a main character, I think she's just amazing. I loved Peeta in the book so much. His character was just so fun. He's very different from the movie version of Peeta, like the Peeta I have known. The pacing, it's so fast paced, but also gives so many details about the Hunger Games and the Capitol and everything that goes on in this world. Absolutely enjoyed my time. 5 stars. I can't wait to read the rest of the series. I'm so excited. I also have The Ultimate Guide to the Hunger Games inside all 5 movies. Did I get this because of Tom Blythe on the cover? Yes. That is all. But yes, as we did for Pride and Prejudice, we are evaluating the film based off 5 different criteria. And the first one is accuracy. And for this, I gave the movie a 4. I think overall, the movie does a great job portraying the book, and in the short amount of time that it's able to as well. It's so impressive to me, all the different things that they were able to cover in the span of 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I kind of forget how long it is. I really did think it was very accurate to the book. There were things that were changed. They were things that when I was reading the book, I think would have been way too graphic to see on the screen. Like the whole thing with the mutts. That was crazy. Had no idea it was like that. I'm not going to get into it because that just totally grossed me out. There really wasn't a lot of Gale at all in the book. I mean, we had him a little bit at the beginning, but I do feel like in the movie we do get to see a little more of him and like what he is thinking and feeling about Katniss being in the Hunger Games. Book Peeta, I'm in love with him. Where was he in the movie? Not that I don't like how Josh Hutcherson plays Peeta, but I just loved how he was a lot more confident and funny in the book and had a little bit more like swagger or whatever. I don't know, I really liked that in the book. And I kind of wish they played that up a little more in the movie, but it's all good. I'm sure they took out other things that I'm kind of forgetting about, but overall, I did feel like it was a 4. So pretty accurate. Next is character development, and I gave that a 4. I think there's only so much you can do in a book to movie adaptation to know the inner thoughts that the character is having. And I feel like they overall did a really good job of helping the audience to understand what's going on in Katniss's mind and like what she's thinking this whole time. But obviously, you know, in the book we are just right there in her inner thoughts, and it's just kind of easier to relate to her in that way. But I think they did the best they could in the movie, and I think overall they did a good job. Next is entertainment. I gave this a 5. I think this movie is so well done, and the Hunger Games franchise, it is such a good franchise. I think overall the entertainment value is there. The messaging behind the story and the depictions to how it relates to today's society, I think are always very interesting in this series. So yes, I did give it a 5. I think it's a very well done movie. The costumes are amazing at the Capitol. I think it's casted so well too. I know it's kind of I know some people disagree on the casting for it, but I think overall I couldn't see it any other way. Pacing and structure, I gave this a 4.5. The pacing of the movie is very similar to the pacing of the book. I think the only difference is that the ending of the movie feels just a bit rushed, and then in the book, we do have a little bit more time when they're back at the Capitol after the games. So there is that. But overall, I think the pacing and structure was really good. Emotional impact, I gave this a 5. Every time I watch The Hunger Games and it's the reaping ceremony and it's with Katniss and she volunteers as tribute for Prim, that scene makes me cry every time. And I guess like reading that happening, I didn't really have the same emotional impact. So I think seeing that on the screen definitely made me a lot more emotional. So emotional impact, I would definitely give it a 5. Now to compare, which do I think is better? I have to say this was very hard for me because I do love the movie and I did love the book, but I think overall I liked the book better. There's just so many more details in the book that I liked more, like Katniss's inner thoughts, book PETA, that gives it like 2 extra points. It also made me kind of understand the Hunger Games a little bit more, and especially if I hadn't read the prequel, The Battle of the Songbirds and Snakes, I think this one does give a little bit more insight to why the Hunger Games are happening, which I found very helpful. They kind of discuss that in the movie, but it's all just like so fast that like if you were just watching the movie, you would just miss it. Yeah, I think overall I do prefer the book to the movie, even though I love the movie, but they were both just so good. If I could say they're both amazing, then I would, but if I have to pick one, I would probably pick the book.
Best of friends through thick and thin. That's what we always said and what you believe. But I'm wanting more, can't help longing for.
Hello, we are back, and it is time to talk about The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I have just finished rewatching the movie. All I can say is amazing. I love that movie so much, and it was so fun reading the book because I had never read it before. I've read The Magician's Nephew, but that's the only Chronicles of Narnia book that I have read before. But I definitely want to continue the series because I had a blast reading it. Just to talk about the book for a little bit, I guess. It was insanely fast-paced. I forgot that, I think, is the series a middle grade book series? Like, I can't really remember, but it was insanely fast-paced. Like, I think the book is only like 120 pages or something like that, something crazy like that. I loved it so much. I liked it a lot more than I was expecting to. It kind of felt in a way that it was like a summary of the actual book. Good or bad, I don't know. Just a little spoiler, I feel like there was more detail in the movie than there was in the book, and I feel like that is just super rare for that to be the case. So I think I ended up giving it a 4-star or 4.5. So now to compare it to the movie, I have my notes up here for the movie. So we're gonna start with accuracy, and for that I give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I feel like the movie is very accurate to the book. Like I said, I feel like they add even more details than they do in the book, which is just crazy to me. Well, my phone, I think, just overheated, so that was kind of crazy. I feel like in the book, I really talk a lot about the fact that they had to be sent away because of the war, or at least there was a lot more details in the book about it. I think that really adds to the overall story, so I did appreciate that part of the movie for sure. For character development, I gave it a 4. I think in this movie, the main person that develops is Edmund, and we don't really see other characters developing that much. I feel like in Prince Caspian, that's where most of them develop as a whole. Yeah, but character development, I give a 4. I think that you can see the character development more in the movie than you can in the book, at least for Edmund. So yeah, in that way, I feel like the movie was better than the book in that way. For entertainment, I gave it a 5. I love this movie. I just think it's perfect, and I'm excited for the Greta Gerwig version that's gonna come out, like the series, I believe. I don't know when it's coming out. I'm excited for that, but in my opinion, it's like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and Prince Caspian, those are both perfect, and I don't know how someone's gonna make it better. And the casting is top notch. Again, don't know how someone's gonna make it better, but you know, I'm willing to see and to find out. But entertainment, I gave it 5. It's visually stunning, this movie. The costuming, the CGI is honestly so good in this movie. Like, let's talk about that. When did this come out? Like 2006, 2007? I don't know. But I feel like the CGI in this is almost better than so many of the movies that are coming out now. Pacing and structure, my phone overheated again. Yeah, the pacing and structure was what I needed it to be. Like, I know the story of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but I wanted to read the book to see if there are any more details that I was missing. So in that way, the pacing was great because it's kind of like almost like a summary. I don't know. It sounds weird, but there really weren't that many details in the book. I guess as a director, that'd be fun because you have a lot of creative freedom. As a reader, if I was only basing it off of the book, I think it could have been a little confusing at points. Emotional impact, I gave this a 5. Oh my gosh, this movie, I think there's a clip of me crying, I'm sure, that I put in this video. The beginning scene makes me sob every time. And then like the train scene where all the kids, I actually can't talk about it, but where all the kids are being shipped away, I literally can't talk about that. And I feel like that's the emotional impact I wanted a little bit more of in the book that just wasn't there. But in the movie, it's amazing. The whole thing with Edmund and Aslan on the stone table. Anytime Lucy cries, I just get emotional because she is so cute. Yeah, emotional impact 5. So, which is better? I feel like you already know my opinion, but I have to say, I think the movie is better. I've mentioned before, but I feel like the movie just added so much more depth than the book ever could. So many more details. I feel like a lot of the times in the book, there were instances where we were with a few of the siblings, but we weren't seeing the perspective of like, you know, say Edmund at the White Witch's castle. I don't know if it's called something different, but I forget. It was kind of only like one perspective at a time. Again, it overheated. But it was kind of only like one perspective at a time, and we weren't really seeing a lot of different perspectives, if that makes sense. So I have to say, for sure, the movie is my favorite. And yeah. But anyways, that concludes this video. I had a blast filming this video. Had such a great time. I would for sure want to do something like this again in the future. It was so much fun. I love watching movies and I love reading, so why not combine the two together? Yes, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any more books to movie adaptations that you want me to watch and read, leave a comment down below. I would love to put those on a list. Yes, if you haven't yet, I would appreciate it so much if you subscribed. And if you liked this video, you wanted to leave a like. But yes, that's all I have for you guys today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.